So today we're going to be breaking down the build we like to call the Ridgeways Fury Build. Yes, this piece is amazing to use with multiple builds. And yes, I said piece because we do have the exotic chest piece, the Ridgeway Pride chest piece on this build. And it just works really good with it. Now, if you guys want to see the full breakdown, it will be coming up shortly. I did want to show you guys a little bit of gameplay before we dive into it. But 100%, if you guys are unsure if you would use this chess piece in multiple builds, well, I've already used it in a few and I'm having a lot of fun with it. So make sure if you guys are new to the gaming channel to leave a thumbs up. And as always, we will have the best of the best from Nothing But Skills and other gaming creators on this channel. So hopefully you guys are excited for the future. Hopefully excited for this build because we're about to break it down. Let's get into it, boys. So let's talk about the chess piece, right? Let's talk about why this exotic chess piece is so good, why is it so powerful with the Hunter's Fury set, and why they work hand in hand. So the Ridgeway Pride chess piece, right? This has bleeding edge. Now it did get a buff in 11.1, so shooting enemies within 15 meters applies bleed to the target. Repair 3 to 48% of your armor per second for every enemy that's bleeding within 15 meters. And then the repair strength per number of bleeding enemies, 3%, 6%, 12%, 24%, and 48%. So depending on how many enemies you have bleeding, you can have up to 48% repair, which is crazy. Now, this comes with all offensive, weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage, and then I put crit chance mod on there for the build that I'm running. Now, when you pair this up with the backpack, so there's an Eclipse Protocol backpack that comes with a special talent. Now, this talent, what it does is it amplifies all damage you deal to status effect enemies by 30%, right? So automatically when you pair that backpack with the chest piece, you have 30% amplified damage. So that's multiplicative and it's gonna hit harder than anything that says just total weapon damage. Now this one, I put armor on here, crit damage, and then we have a crit damage mod. So those are the roles you want for this. Now when you pair that with the Ridgeway Pride chest piece, we're always applying bleed, right? So it's guaranteed 30% amplified damage, and it's an easy way to get a lot of damage out of your build with just these two pieces together. Now, if we look at the set, right, we are running 1.5 million armor, 321,000. We are using the firewall specialization because of the shield that gives us that damage to enemies that are in front of our shield. You'll see in a second. We're also using it because we do want that med kit. And then also when our armor breaks, it causes PvE enemies to take damage. Now I pair that up with the SIG MPX. Now this has SMG damage, crit chance, damage to targets out of cover, total damage 96,000, mag size 50. Now it has Sadist, deal 20% weapon damage to bleeding enemies. Now what does the chest do? Well, the chest causes enemies to bleed. So right off the bat, we're gaining 20% extra weapon damage on the SIG MPX alongside that 30% amplified damage from the Eclipse Protocol backpack. Now, the way I have it modded is I just try to get maxed out crit chance. So if you have a lot of crit chance, you might go crit damage on the mods, but that's really up to you. Now, I do run the mop shotgun. I love this because of armor on kill, that 10% it automatically has. And then I put preservation on my mop. Killing an enemy repairs 10% of my armor. If I get a headshot kill, that's an additional 10%, so that's 20% of my armor. So a lot of armor on kill right there. Now, for the pistol, whatever you want. So we are running the Hunter's Fury set, right? So what does it do? 15% shotgun damage, 15% SMG damage. For a 2-piece, that's what we're running, an SMG and a shotgun. 3-piece, 20% armor on kill, 100% health on kill. And then the 4-piece, enemies within 15 meters receive a debuff, amplifying your damage by 20%. So that means we have a total of amplified damage of 50% on this build already. And then killing a debuff enemy with your weapon disorients other enemies within 5 meters and amplifies weapon damage by 5% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. So that means you can have an additional 25% amplified damage, 75% total amplified damage at one time, which is crazy. So I have armor rolled on here. We have crit chance, crit damage. Ideally, I would like to get rid of that crit chance roll and hopefully have a max out crit damage roll, max out armor roll, and then I could put that crit damage mod on there. Now, you do want to make sure you try to get 60% crit chance or as close to 60% and then as much crit damage as you can. Now, for the holster, we have armor and we have crit damage. Just another piece of Hunter's Fury. We have another piece of Hunter's Fury on the knee pads, weapon damage, crit damage. Now, I did go with weapon damage on this one because I felt that in PvE, 1.5 million armor is enough, and having that additional 15% weapon damage definitely benefits the build. So for the gloves, we go back to armor and crit damage. So that's how you want all your Hunter's Fury. And then I've already showed you the backpack. So we have the armor, crit damage, and crit damage. But this is the build. This is how I have it set up, right? The SIG MPX with Sadis. We have the chest piece, the backpack. Now for the shield, the reason why I like the firewall shield is because look at that. Damage bonus per enemy in front of my shield is 12%. That means I'm doing 12% extra damage. Now to get that 12%, you need to make sure that you do have 5% extra damage on there. So if you look right here, I have this 5% damage bonus per enemy. So that pushes me to 12% right there. So that's how I have that modded. Now for my secondary, that's really up to you. I like the Reviver Hive, or if you want to take advantage of a lot of that bleeding heal that you get from the chest piece, run the Stinger Hive. So Stinger Hive, Reviver Hive, you guys decide depending on what kind of group you're running in. And I've been able to run this in control points, the open world, in missions, and play it on the hardest difficulty that you can really do right now. I have not tried it on legendary missions though, and legendary missions are another thing, at least for legendary missions, not the summit legendary. So you could probably even run this on legendary summit with no directives on, maybe 1 or 2. But I personally have not had any issues with this on heroic content. So if you guys are trying to farm new gear, new builds, this is probably going to be an easy build for you to run and do pretty well with it, because it has enough armor to have that survivability. It has enough damage to drop these enemies. As you guys are watching, we're dropping these elite enemies, right? Even these named heroic enemies pretty quick. And that's only running really 2 reds, right? We only have 2 reds at 30% weapon damage right there. And we'll get into the stats in just a second, but everything else is blues, right? Blues, we're taking advantage of the high crit chance that you get on SMG and stacking more crit damage on the build itself. But overall, this is the build, right? And having that armor on kill from Hunter's Fury can get you out of situations like you saw right there where my armor broke, right? Having that armor on kill, even if it's only 20%, is actually really good. And if we get into the stats, right, you can see that we have 55% crit chance, 117% crit damage, 62% headshot damage, and then of course that 8% damage to targets out of cover. We have 294,000 armor on kill, and then 417,000 health on kill, which if you look at our health is only 321,000, so way more health on kill than we have. And that's the build. That is the Hunter's Fury Ridgeway exotic chest piece with the Eclipse Protocol backpack. And I really think running the Ridgeway is beneficial to a lot of builds depending on what type of damage you're trying to do, with being able to keep a lot of that high survivability, high armor, right? Because, you know, a lot of people like having high armor, and I feel that with this Hunter's Fury set, it really works great in PvE. I've heard people doing it in PvP. Let me know in the comments. I will see you guys in the next Division 2 video, but until then, nothing but skills is out.